Hey, hi, how you doing? Hey, I'm glad you're able to come over. I'm glad you're able to stop by because I wanted to talk about that story you told me, which I thought was really a great story. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to repeat the story, make sure I got it right, okay? I'm glad you could come. Hey, so you were working at that company. I think you were the accounting manager. I think is that what it was? And you look up because you hear this scuffle, you hear this loud noise coming out of the president's office. So you look over, and sure enough, there seems to be a bit of an argument. The door flies open, and this guy comes out. He's got kind of puffy cheeks, and he's bald on top a little bit like me. And he comes flying out, and you can see, I tell he's angry there. And you recognize him. He's the vice president of marketing. And a few seconds later, actually, the president of the company, now she's at the door, and she's upset too. You can tell she's kind of pissed. She's got her hands on her hips. She's got that defiant thing going on. And she goes and gets a cup of Joe, and she comes back to your office, and she says, "Hey, listen, I have a problem. I wonder if you could hear me out and offer any solutions." And you said, "Yeah, sure. Go ahead. What's your problem?" She says, "Well, listen, that guy there, the vice president of marketing, they're doing a mail campaign. They're going to roll out 100,000 mailings to the population. And so in order to test a couple different test kits, they did a preliminary mailing of 5,000 people, and a preliminary mailing of a second test kit to 3,500 people. And the second one got a better mailing response, 2.1 versus 1.9. So he wants to take this, mailing and roll that better mailing out to the entire 100,000 households. So you said, well, okay, what's the big deal? What's wrong with that? And you said, well, it's a much more expensive mailing. That second mailing there costs much more. It's, gilded, gold trim, very fancy with the envelope. The first mailing is much less expensive to produce. And you're not sure whether, that second mailing, he got a 2.1% response. Is that good? And this guy's insisting it is. So I said, okay, I think I understand. And she says, well, there's actually more to it than that. So there's a guy in the board of directors. His name is Boris, and he's just waiting for me to make a mistake. I could sort of see that, if I do the expensive mailing, I could get criticized for, wasting the company's money. And if I do the cheaper mailing, I'm sure he could criticize me for, you didn't give an opportunity. Why did you do the cheaper mailing when you have, a better response rate with the other mailing? So I need something based on math and science. Here, check out, you said, listen to this phone message. And you listen to, and he says, hey, Boris, now I have you where I want you. I will crush you. I will put my own president and rip this company into pieces and sell off the pieces. So your president's like, this guy's a butcher. I can't let him get his way. So, you said, well, what can I do to help you? And you said, and she said to you, well, I know you're pretty good with the math and statistics and things like that. Can you guide me here? Well, what's math and science say? So, so you said, well, do you have any data? So she said, yeah, there's some data here. So, you have the mailing 1 and the mailing 2. You have the 5,000 mailing and the 3,500 mailing. You have a 1.9 response rate and a 2.1 response rate there. So, so you said, well, maybe I can help you. How much time do I have? And she said, well, not much time. I really need a decision. I needed to act by the end of the day. By the end of the day. Okay, all right, well, so, let me think on this and see what I can do. So, you're like, all right. So she leaves. She goes back to the office. And so you decide, you got to get down to work. So, it's time to get down to work there. What are you going to do? How do you figure this out? What kind of problem is this? This isn't something that they trained you in an accounting class. But it seems to you that you remember There was something to do with this in statistics class. Now, that was quite a few years ago. What was that? What was that? Time's ticking down here. Nope, that's not it. I think I've got it. Right. So what you did was you went to the president's office and you demonstrated that at a 5% significance level, you must conclude there is no statistical difference between the two mailings. The difference in responses is just randomness. The math indicates that you may as well go with the cheaper mail campaign. Well, the president has a big grin on her face. She's got some math and science, behind her. She knows what decision she's making here. And she says, she tells you, I want to show you my appreciation. There's a conference in Orlando. It's right up your alley. I think you should go down to it on the company. Take your family with you. Have an enjoyable time. So, obviously you get home, you tell your family they're going to Orlando, and they're, very happy. They're very excited. So, what is it exactly that you told the president in order to arrive at this conclusion? So you told her you had to determine if that increase in the response rate was due to better mailing or was just due to randomness. You used statistics. You identified the type of test as the difference between two sample proportions, and you decided to conduct this test with the 5% significance level. You knew that to do that, you had to calculate and compare two numbers, the test statistic and the critical value. And if the test statistic is greater than the critical value, you knew that that fancy mailing is worth it, and you should go do that mailing, that expensive mailing to all 100,000 households. But if the test statistic is less than the critical value, then you conclude that the increased rate was just due to randomness. And you just do the cheaper mailing. Okay, so now you had to dig in and get those numbers, the test statistic and the 5% and the critical value. Now you knew you had to split that 5% significance level between the bottom tail and the top tail of a bell-shaped curve. That's 2.5% at the top and at the bottom. 100% plus 2.5% equals 97.5%, or 0.975. You plug that into Excel. Excel's your friend. This is what you type in, equals NORMSINV, open parentheses, 0.975, close parentheses. You hit enter, Excel kicks back a value of 1.96. That's your critical value. Now you got to test your data against that critical value. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, it's a complicated formula, but fortunately we got the Google machine, okay? You type in a difference in sample proportions, and this is the formula you got. Now, I must admit, that formula looks pretty big and pretty massive and kind of scary. But if you just look at it, the numerator there says p hat 1 minus p hat 2. Well, that's just the two response rates, the 2.1% minus the 1.9%. Down the denominator, it says that you're taking the square root of p hat 1, open parentheses, 1 minus p hat 1. Well, that's the p hat 1 is the proportion, 2.1%. And then 100, or 1 minus 2.1%. Over n1, that's your sample size, n1. And then plus, in the same thing for the second mailing. Okay, it looks a little, you told me, I looked at it and said, boy, that thing looks intimidating. And you showed how that's very simple when you do it in Excel. You type in equals, open parentheses, 0.021 minus 0.019, close parentheses, slash SQRT, which means square root, 3 open parentheses, 0.021 times, open parentheses, 1 minus 0.021, close parentheses twice, slash 5,000, that's your mailing size, close parentheses, plus 2 open parentheses, 0.019 times open parentheses, 1 minus 0.19, 2 close the parentheses, slash 3,500, that's the sample size of the second, and 2 parentheses ending closed twice. Hit enter. Boom. Excel kicks back an answer, 0.651. Okay, that is your that's your test statistic. So since the z-statistic of 0.651 is less than the 5% significance level of 1.96, you must conclude there's no statistical difference between the mailings. The difference in the mailings is just chance. Okay, and that's what you did. You figured this out. You are an advisor to the management team, an important advisor, a key advisor, because you have the tools of math and statistics to illuminate the darkness, to bring clarity from fog, to distinguish order from randomness. Boris did not win that day. As a matter of fact, Boris was booted off of the board of directors and was disgraced. The president guided the company through difficult storms with you at her side, giving solid advice based on math and statistics. I gotta say, that is quite an impressive story. You are a rock star, and you are one ace accountant. And for that, you get a round of applause. All right, I'll see you soon. Good night.